Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, what is the weirdest thing that you've ever had to deal with when working with, or the weirdest thing you've ever had to debug when working with software? So let's get into it. Well, I have a few of these, so I'll pick my favorite one, which, because it's, I mean, everybody has something that they can't. I mean, it happens all the time, guys. It happens all the time that something kind of unexplainable happens to somebody, and they kind of find a workaround. They find some way of solving this problem, but they don't really know why it works. I mean, and they kind of just go on with their day, right? But that's not very satisfying for you now, is it? I mean, sitting here and telling you something that I couldn't explain and just leaving at that, that's not going to be good. So let's talk about my school days. Let's talk about one of the weirdest things that I've ever had to debug, which, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's such a small thing, then, and I mean, I spent hours on this problem, and the fix was so easy, but the problem was so weird. Let's get to it. I had this not coworker. I had this classmate, and we had, well, basically we were sitting working. In this specific instance, we were working with Java. We were working on threading and understanding how threads interact with each other, how, thread locks and all of this good stuff works within Java. Now, for the people out there who don't know about threading, it's basically a way for you to declare to a process, or rather to run two parallel processes. So you can start a piece of code, run that on one thread or in parallel to another process, which in effect allows you to have, well, think of it as multiple programs running beside each other, and then being able to communicate back and forth between these processes. Now, this is very useful if you want to be able, if you're going to do something very heavy. Being able to fork something off into multiple threads will make it much easier for you to schedule. You can schedule out a lot of work and actually get done quicker, as opposed to having one thread do the whole computation. So with that said, we were just playing around with the runnable interface, which in Java is basically the way that you declare at the very basic level how a thread class of some sort, something that's going to run as a parallel process, right? And so I got I implemented it, and I got it working, and I did some basic logging and things of this nature. And so my classmate calls me over, and I asks, like, Frederick, I can't do this. Like, the idea was that we were going to have one thread to message the other thread and like log out different messages depending on which process it was running in. And he said, like, I don't get that. Like, I can't get this to work. And I sat down with him. Okay, all right, let's just walk through it. And we basically all have these two class files. We have the main application, the main file, the enter point into the program, and we have this class that is runnable, that has this potential, this ability to go into a separate thread, right? And I look at the code. It looks pretty straightforward, and I run it, and as he says, it doesn't start up a separate thread, and I can't understand it. And I sit there and I start Googling. I start, like, the thing that you usually do. What do you do? Well, you ask, okay, runnable something. I can remember something like Googling for runnable thread in Java, not starting separate process or something like that. You try to figure out some query that you can give to the magical people at Google, and they will tell you or give you back a result of other smart people that might help you somehow. And after a few hours of Googling around and trying different approaches, so because you start questioning the approach, right? You get to, like, nothing works, and you like start questioning yourself and your entire world understanding of programming and things like that. What I usually do is that I go back to the base case. I always go back to the base case as quickly as I can, like as quickly as I can, just to get back to basics as quickly as possible if I'm in the situation where I don't really know what's going on, right? And so I tell them, all right, let's just do this. Let's copy paste all of my code, like the exact thing that I've done, and just do that here. We do that. It still doesn't work. And I just don't get it. And then finally I go, all right, you take my code and you run it on your computer and let's see what happens. He runs it and everything works. And nothing is different. And then I finally go, okay, so my program does what is expected. It looks identical to yours. There has to be some difference here. So I finally click into the runnable interface that his class is implementing, and I open that up. And then I look at the package name, and it is his own interface. As I look at him, like, you mean I'm completely destroyed. I've been sitting there for hours trying to help him, and I'm like, just look at him, dude. But why do you have your own instance of the runnable interface? Oh, because I declared it just the way that it was supposed to be declared, like our teacher showed us. And I'm like, dude, it's a library. This means nothing to the JVM. This will not do anything. You've just created an interface and implemented the methods. That's not going to start a thread. That's the whole problem. There is a package, like an actual implementation provided to you by the good people at Oracle. I don't know if it was Sun who made it, but they have made this for you, and you implement it because that specific interface is the thing that's going to start your thread. So that is probably one of the most weirdest things I've ever had to debug. That's pretty much as well. I mean, he didn't know any better, so that's fine. But like, it could have been so much worse. I mean, I think I spent 2 hours like Googling and like questioning my entire understanding of software development. But finally, as I said, I mean, a simple thing as just clicking. It was so obvious to me that this was so obvious to me that I hadn't even considered that this could have been the problem. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you're ever in this sort of situation where you are starting to question your own understanding of programming, be damn sure to go back to the base case. Like, go back to the simplest damn thing that you can possibly do. Like, write the silliest little dumb program that you can just to verify your ID and then build it up from that. Because otherwise you might do what I do and just start like Googling and researching and going off on a completely different tangent. And you're going to spend hours and hours and hours trying to debug something where you will not find the answer. And most likely you're not going to find the answer because somebody decided to make their own implementation of the runnable interface. Have a great day.